This is the X&C Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Gaz, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, X&C Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox Newscast. Hey, how you doing? Wow, this is this has been crazy as I start a new type of show. Hopefully you can hear me and everything's coming through loud and clear. I'm here. This is Colteastwood, and this is the X&C Podcast. I'm here with my special guest and one of my best friends in the entire planet, Randall Thor. How are you, buddy?
Hi, this is Colteastwood and Gaz for the X&C Podcast.
How does it feel to replace
How's it going?
The great Gaz? Like that is such an honor.
I can never replace the sauce, Colt. You know that. Gaz knows that.
You are legendary, though.
No, it's not. No, we're not. We're not legendary, Colteastwood.
Oh man.
Well, you are. I'm not. So,
I mean, everyone knows that. Like when I DM'd you back in like 2016 or 2017, and like said, "Oh, the great Rand. Can I be your friend?" And you're like, "Well, we'll see. I have an application." But yeah, the special Nick's in the chat. This is your opportunity, Rand, and everyone gets a chance on my show to say hi to Special Nick from Xbox Era.
I talk to Nick all the time, and I told him, I sent him a super chat this past weekend, being like, man, what a great week, right? GoldenEye no-showed. I mean, it was the perfect week. Xbox had some new announcements at Gamescom. PlayStation showed everybody once again just how greedy they can be, and GoldenEye just disappeared, just like a fart in the wind.
My gosh! Oh my gosh! Let's see. Some people are saying that Randall Thor might be too loud. I just can't see that happening, but I don't know. Maybe you could turn it down a little bit. I have no idea. I'll just kind of take a look at the comments. You know what? When Rand comes in, he comes in with the fierceness, and that's why I've got him here. Gaz is out of the country on a bit of a holiday, so I don't have him here. And I thought, who better to have on the X&C show as the star, the shining beacon of the Xbox 2 podcast. Of course, you have an excellent YouTube channel. You've got about 86,000 subs or something like that. No, who's counting?
Something like that. I turned myself down a little bit. I don't know how that sounds. You have to let us know. But yeah, I did lower myself so I don't come in so loud. But yeah, we're doing well on YouTube. Doing you well. We got Xbox 2 with Jess Corden, Windows Central every week, usually Fridays. And making some YouTube videos again. It was a fun month, so hopefully it continues,
You guys have been making some moves with the podcast. Jez has been working some deals, and people are really getting interested in moving the podcast around different platforms and getting some eyes on it. And you're like in one of the top ranking lists. Holy smokes, bro. Everybody else out here saying, how do we do that? How do we get the magic? But
I don't know. I don't even know why anybody listens. Look at you drifting in this game, right into a parking spot, Saints Row.
I want to talk about this game, and I've got a full hour of footage that will loop as we go through the show, but I want to talk about this because, it's kind of interesting the way people are reacting. But this little show, the X&C Podcast, is on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. After the fact, you're checking us out, audio only on demand. We really appreciate you checking out the show, and hopefully it comes across audio only. Like here, Rand's not on a camera, but I am, and sometimes we might make a face, right? If you're on a camera, like you watch people who are on camera, Rand, and they'll make a face, and you have to wonder if the people are listening with earbuds on, if they're wondering what in the world you're doing. But I want to give a shout out real quick, Ram, before we get into these games. I want to give a shout out to the channel member veterans and Patreon veterans who've been with the channel over 9 months, supporting what we do here, keeping the literal lights on my ugly face so we could do this show And I really appreciate you. We got Brian Harris, Mark Cardwell, KY Bob, Assassin Lupa, Jazzy Noob, Xbox, Ricky Fallon, Steven Smith, Christine Maurice Baker, Matt Without Fear, and channel members, Matt Burns, William Lanza, Nano Polymyth, Udana Kizada, Robert Jackson, Lord Starkiller, Dante Moody, Betamax, Zark CMF, Gaz, Fox Storytelling, Reek Havocs. Almost have these people memorized because I've talked to them so much. Zener White, Devario 2 Gaming, DeBlue, Poochie, Remix Gaming, V Simcoe, Assassin, Raymond G, Dub, Larry Thatcher, Hargeet Chani, TK Chillin, Raiden Blade, Acute Perspective, True 77, Risk It for the Biscuit, and Widya Santaso. And I know, Rand, you have some of these people on your listing as well that are helping you. You're checking out your channel membership and supporting, doing the little special channel member chats and stuff, right?
Indeed. I turned myself down again, Colt. People are saying if Colt's at like 90, the Rand's at 120. So like I keep on.
Yeah. That's not too bad. Let me see if I'll just bring me up one more shot. I don't normally mess with that because once you start messing with, actually I think I'm all the way up. You know what? Who cares? We'll make it work. Rand's dulcet, beautiful tones, but. Yeah, thank you for everybody who's been supporting the channel. I was trying to remember where I was going with that. But let's talk about Saints Row really quick because people want to hear about the news, but you got to be looking at this footage going, it kind of looks fun. Let us know, chat. Rand, let's hear from you first. I have a lot to say, and you've just begun.
I mean, what do you want me to begin with, Saints Row?
I messed up. There we go.
Well,
I mean, just give us your impressions because you've kind of you got like 4 or 5 hours into it and you're kind of playing it because why not? I want to hear what you have to say.
People are like, Rand, mute yourself and then continue talking. That's the best. That's what I probably should do.
Wait, who said that?
Red Wolf said something like that.
No, Red Wolf said it. Good.
Let's see. Just see. My initial impressions of Saints Row are a bit lukewarm.
Okay.
After probably 4 or 5 hours. It's the humor in the game is completely lost on me. That's one of the reasons I really like Saints Row. Was the combination of the open world gameplay and the topness of everything that's going on, combined with the humor that the game had. And maybe it's because I'm older, right? Saints Row 1, 2, 3, and 4 all came out during the 360 era, and we've completely gone through an entire generation where we didn't have a new Saints Row.
And
so maybe I'm just
a little lad back then in 05 or 06, right?
So, when I play through the main missions and I listen to the conversations between the main characters and the group, I just don't find any of it funny at all, really. So,
but you did find the old ones funny because I didn't much, but that didn't bother me.
Yeah, I did. So I don't I'm not finding myself laughing. I'm more finding myself just kind of like rolling my eyes at some of the stuff, and I don't really like the look of the open world. I know you kind of like how it looks. I feel like it's too brown. Like it's just kind of just too brown, and the gameplay is very much 360 era open world. So as of right now, I'm not exactly in love with it. It sort of feels to me like how I felt along the lines of like Crackdown 3 in 2019, where I was hoping for something more, and they were just like, no, it's just Crackdown 1 all over again, and it just was boring after a bit. I don't know. I mean, I'll try to finish it because I usually when I start a game I finish it, but. Yeah, I'm just kind of going through the motions, just doing things in the open world, and yeah, it's at least right now it's not really enjoyable as I was hoping it would be. But you have a different opinion on it, so
yeah, I mean, I think the game looks very simple. It looks like you're playing a remastered 07 game for sure, or at least a remastered 2012 game because it carries a lot of the animations over. The world looks pretty to me. Like it's got a nice color palette. You've got purples and blues and hot oranges with the sunset. And you've got this, Southwest thing going on, but it doesn't blow your mind. Nothing looks next generation. Like that can really bother people. Like here you are on a Series X or a PS5 and you want like some new game. Like Volition hasn't really made a Saints Row game in 6 years or 8 years, whatever it's been. And this, I bet if you put Saints Row the third remaster and this one together, you wouldn't be able to tell which one was newer. If if someone like, put the blindfold cup test, on the table and said which one is which. Like they just didn't elevate everything. But Rand, the game is fun. Like I've been playing it by myself, doing the open world stuff and going around and checking off all the side hustles. What a dumb name, hustles. And playing in co-op with Dealer. But the bugs, Rand. I want to hear about some of the bugs because there can be some funny stories. What kind of stuff have you encountered? What's typical?
I mean, I haven't really encountered any bugs per se, other than like I'll drive and like maybe go over a fire extinguisher, which will pop up my car like high in the air. I don't know if that's a feature or if that's a bug.
It's actually a feature. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think the one that I experienced last night was like my character wasn't showing up on the mini map.
Yeah.
So when I opened up the map, I couldn't see where I was, which is kind of annoying. But other than that, I haven't had any other sort of bugs, at least on like a huge scale that some people have experienced.
So when the game launched, the day one for people who bought it at retail, like I did, I paid $60 for it, right? Like I said, I think I said this on Fawn's show yesterday. I sat and watched Skillup's excellent 30-minute review of the game Monday night after my podcast last week. And I sat there and I thought, yeah, I agree. He's like what he's saying. This game is not finished. It's not polished. You shouldn't buy it. And I'm like, Colt, you're going to buy it. So I told myself, and I did, of course. And I was angry that night. I was like, why is this game so garbage? And then the next morning I started having a lot of fun. And I really have had fun with it. And I don't know. People don't like that. It's like I'm supporting or I'm endorsing a broken, buggy game because this morning, Rand, it's been broken more than it's ever been broken the whole entire week. My character ran around with 2 guns in her hand and they wouldn't leave, like they were stuck there, and she would punch people holding 2 SMGs. Every time you go into a canned animation takedown, the character would lay 45 degrees against the ground and you would punch the air, and that happened every single animation this morning. Dealer and I tried to play co-op. It wouldn't let us join my game. It wouldn't let me join his game, and on and on and on. So that's what Saints Row is, but I want people to watch what we've got here because I think it does look fun, doesn't it?
Looks like Saints Row to me. I mean, fun's in the eye of the beholder. Someone might find it a good time. I'm not saying it's like horrible by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just sort of, maybe the worst thing you could possibly say is I'm just finding it a little too boring, I guess. Like at least if it was funny, it would have that going for it, or I could be like, all right, the characters are telling some jokes and it's getting me to laugh.
Try.
But like some of the things they say, is that supposed to be funny? Or am I too old? Is this supposed to be like The Simpsons? Old man yelling at the cloud. Am I the old man now?
No way.
Just for my birthday. Now I'm 41 years old. Maybe I'm not the target demographic of the humor anymore in this. But like I said, I'm only like 5 hours in, so maybe it gets better.
I think it's a case of the writers or the people who are writing the dialogue and the jokes and the quips and stuff just aren't funny. Like, it just simply aren't funny because it's the way it's hitting for people. And
oh, look, Colteastwood died.
Yeah, it was funny because I sat down to record an hour for the show today, and I thought, I'm doing so horrible. I'm trying to keep it moving so you guys have some fun stuff to watch. But when you talk about that humor, like, are you too old? Like, I guess there is a type of humor that doesn't like work for you when you get to a certain age. Like some of the stuff on TikTok, I'm like, I just roll my eyes so hard. They spin and then they spill my brain out the back of my head. But then some stuff on like a TikTok would make me laugh. But one thing that came out today was this PlayStation Lifestyle article that said that High on Life's dialogue was just as cringy as Forspoken's trailer last week or 2 weeks ago.
That is interesting. Is it? You said it's a Kotaku article?
No, it was PlayStation Lifestyle.
Oh, PlayStation.
Yeah, a verified news source, or verified.
I mean, to be fair, I could maybe see someone who doesn't like the Rick and Morty style humor that they're going for in High in Life.
Yeah, or that
someone
they're
who
using,
finds someone who finds that humor to be cringe, to be like, look at that and be like, well, this is cringe, like how Forspoken's dialogue was cringe. But I mean, Forspoken was like, I talk to a cuff now. I guess this is my life. Nothing was as cringe as that. You know what I mean?
My 11-year-old son quotes that trailer word for word because he's heard me play it so many times as I've shown people, and he can nail that delivery. But I think most people were probably laughing with the High on Life trailer, like when the stabby knife came out and the swearing and all that stuff. But you didn't have a viral campaign of Forspoken with millions of people like sharing that trailer and laughing at it. But the two differences, Rand, is Forspoken won't sound like that during the whole game. High on Life will sound like that in the game, the way we're playing it. Are you okay with that?
You never know if Forspoken could sound like that, because if she's a character by herself, one of the reasons why a lot of these third-person games have a co-op character or a second character is because they can constantly have dialogue going, so there's not just silence, right? It's why Kratos has Atreus, or why
Aloy speaks to herself a lot.
Yeah, or she speaks to herself. So it honestly could be like she could be talking to herself quite a bit during the game, which judging from the dialogue, if that's the case, maybe it won't be very good.
Do you think that she would break the fourth wall and act like she's talking to the player, or is she just having her inner monologue in the game?
She could just be talking to herself,
I guess I don't hate that.
It depends. It depends how it's written, I suppose, and how it's performed, right?
Yeah, and this is the team that made Final Fantasy 15, and they've broken off to do their own thing. It's like this is their first big shot at creating something on their own without following a formula, I suppose. So I like that. I don't know, just the way that people made fun of Forspoken, and then this PlayStation magazine trying to punch down at High on Life. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like your games. You guys made fun of our game, so we're gonna make fun of your game.
That's console war, man. That's console war.
It's toxic.
Yeah. I don't know. We're going to talk about High on Life just in a little bit, but let's talk about the other night. We were on a party chat. We were on an epic party chat, audience and chat. It was like a 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I jumped on to play Saints Row, and I was kind of getting into that. You get that happy feeling where you're just enjoying the game, and you're glad you have something you can enjoy. And Rand joins my party. And I was like, because Rand and I don't always get to jump on because of sleep schedules or whatever. So we're talking, and then Miles Dompierre jumps in, Hargeet Chani, and Zocker, and Gaming Forte, like a lot of our good friends. So we had this big party chat. We were having a good time. But that's not even the point. Like, we were up late. This is what I'm getting to. And I go to bed, shut everything off, go to bed. I'm laying there with my phone, and Rand texts me, and he goes, "Hey, Colt, you up?" And I'm like, oh, no. What's going on? What was the news, Rand? This is like 5-6 days ago.
Yeah, I texted you because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning my time, so it was like still midnight for you, and I was like, hey, I wonder if Colt's still up. I texted you, and I'm like, Colt, the PlayStation just increased price. Or the PS5 just increased their price. And then Colt like immediately called me back, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And
I answer, in my button-up pajamas.
Up?
What?
And you're like, wait, what's going on? I'm like, you won't believe it, but Jim Dance Moves Ryan has pulled a fast one. And Colt's like, what'd he do? I'm like, PS5 raises price everywhere except the US. And Colt's like, no. And I'm like, yes, prepare the memes, Colt. Prepare the memes.
It was Colt, time to get out the stylus and start making memes. We heard this rumor like 2 months ago or a month ago.
It was a month ago during their financial call. They an investor asked them about pricing, and they said that they had like no information like it wasn't a no where they said no, we have no intentions of raising the price. They basically were like,
we have no intention at this time or something.
We're not talking about it right now. They basically said we're not talking about it right now, and that raised people's eyebrows. And so websites ran with it, and it's funny because PlayStation Nation was calling any of the websites that ran with that clickbait, like, oh, you're just clickbaited it. They're never going to raise the price of the consoles. That's funny because that's what people were saying. You're not going to raise the price of the consoles.
Did you make a video on that? Is that what
no,
you're saying?
not.
Oh,
no, I didn't. I just remember like there being like tweets and forum posts where people are like, could PlayStation actually raise the price? And literally everybody was like, no, they're not going to raise the price. They're not stupid, right? And then a month later, hey, the prices are raised. Not only that, but there's a new PS5 in the market that's lighter. And they probably reduce some of the costs of the system on a system they've already said is profitable. So here we go.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I guess I was really surprised because the first thing I thought of when you announced that was that they had just said a year ago. And I went and looked, and it was like almost a year ago on the money, like a week off of 12 months ago. They said, we're finally not selling the PS5 at a loss. And there's even more news that came out today that in Australia, they're seeing the PS5 start to roll out that has the lighter and more affordable materials in it to save PlayStation more money on creating the consoles. But yet, there's still a price hike. So I want to ask you what their strategy, like how are they approaching this? You can start by talking about what's going on in the U.S. because that's kind of like the curveball for everybody.
I mean, how are they approaching this? They're approaching this by saying, give us more money for the same product that you've been paying, this price for the last 2 years, except in the U.S. because you guys matter. And the Xbox is actually fierce competition here. It's very, very close. Maybe we're only ahead by 500,000 unit or 500,000 units or whatever. We can't be more expensive in the U.S. because that will give the Xbox an advantage, which more and more people might pick up a Series S and Game Pass, and that's not something we want. But hey, the rest of the world subsidize it
because yikes! I mean, because the PS5 and Series X and S are really close in sales numbers in the United States. Like in North America with Canada and Mexico, they're off by 3 million or something in sales. But they must be really close in the States.
Yeah, supposedly they're quite close. It's a very, very fierce and competitive market. Now people will say, they're not doing this in the States because macroeconomics and stuff like that, even though the United States has pretty bad inflation. So they'll point to the strong dollar exchange rates as the reason why. But the reality is they're not doing it because this is Xbox's best market and it's extremely close. And if you were to raise the price of the PlayStation 5 $50, then that makes Xbox look even better. And people might actually choose the Series S or the Series X instead. And PlayStation does not want to be number 2 in the most important market because clearly that's what Sony's saying by all this. Is they're saying that everybody in the rest of the world, Europe, UK, Asia, Japan, Australia, where Nick lives, Canada. You're not as important as the people in the United States. You can all pay more, and they can pay less. And
they're already
you're just
sort of paying more anyway, aren't they? I know in Australia, when you buy a PS5, it costs more than an Xbox before this price hike, right?
I mean, you mean like it compared to the price here in the States?
I mean, help me out. I know we've got a couple of people from Australia who are here. I think I've been told before by them that it's cheaper to get a Series X than a PS5 in Australia before this happened. The PS5 is slightly more money. They have a higher price. But that it wouldn't make this price hike such a big deal. But what if
Special Nick says they're the same price?
Same price. Okay.
So you're wrong, Colteastwood.
Are the games
wrong?
750 AU. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I know that we talked about game prices, and maybe they just talk about how the number is higher. But with the United States, I have two questions for you, because one of Hargeet Chani was talking to me, and he said that the only reason they're not hitting the USD is because of that tag, the USD. If they keep the PS5 at $499 USD, all of their marketing could say $499 USD, even though they're selling it higher in a bunch of other countries. What do you think about that take? He thinks it's about marketing perception.
I mean, there might be something to do with marketing, but I don't know. I think it's more that they looked at it. They looked at like how much inflation is raising the cost of the components of the console. They're looking at their P&L sheets and their what shareholders expect and demand, and they know if they're selling all these millions of consoles, and all of a sudden now instead of making $50 profit on each console sold, now they're only making $10 profit, or perhaps breaking even. Well, that doesn't look good for their, for what they've been saying, right? Like when you're posting these record-breaking things, you want to continue. Stockholders want, infinite growth. So Sony's probably looking at it like, you know what? We can get away with this. So we're going to raise the prices so we can either break even or make more money. So we could report later on next year that, we had record-breaking revenue and maybe record-breaking profits. And everybody's going to, all the stockholders are going to be extremely pleased with us because we're providing them value. So, I mean, I don't know. We'd have to... I mean, is it one of those things? I don't know. Like, since I don't really see ads for the PlayStation 5, I'm not in France or in Australia. Can I actually run an ad in Australia that says, hey, get a PS5, mates. Run down to the didgeridoos and get a PS5 for $499 USD when, like, it's not... Is,
no,
like,
I don't think it works that way. I think maybe what Hargeet's alluding to is, like, it's like the starting at. Like, you can see an ad anywhere. They can just say PS5 starting at asterisk $499, and then it says dollar amounts in USD, blah blah blah, and check your country for additional prices or whatever. And maybe they just do it that way. I don't know. Perception is a big thing. And here's the other thing we have to think about with this PS5 price hike is that PlayStation is in a really dire situation. All right. 1 year ago, they were already not selling the console at a loss, which last generation, the PlayStation 4 typically lost money or broke even the entire generation. And here they are in a situation where they're able to say, we're no longer selling the PlayStation 5 at a loss. Now, I'm a bit behind on the footage that's playing right now, but if you're seeing me restart the game, it's because there's a game-breaking bug where the camera will zoom in and you could do nothing about it. What great, $60, what a game. But anyway, as I was saying, as I try to get my train of thought back, Rand, they're in this situation where they were selling the PS5 at a profit, or they weren't taking a loss in August of 2021. And now they're in this situation where the rise of components from AMD, the heat sink, plastic, shipping, and export, import, everything has gone up in price because of what's gone on over the past 2 years. And they said, we need to do something about it. We need to pass this burden onto our consumers. But they're also in the middle of they're on a second revision, Rand, of the PS5 to lighten the cost of manufacturing and acquisition of parts and production. And they shaved off 300 grams from the new PS5, Rand, which when you're sending pallets of PS5s on a container ship. That all can add up to a lot of money that you get to keep for profits when you sell on your profit margin. So they're in the situation, Ram, where they've cut costs on the console to help them save on the what they're paying to get the console out to market, and they've done a price hike in major countries around the world.
Except here, Colteastwood.
Except here. So it must have been really bad. And so the next thing that happened is your podcast mate and best friend, Jez Corden, was at Gamescom in Germany, and he did the legwork and asked the question everyone wanted to ask. And do you know the story behind that, or who helped him reach out?
I mean, I think Xbox PR was at Gamescom, so I think he asked them around, and they said, like, "Hey, wait for a response," and then Xbox responded to Jez and I think a few others with a statement, which you probably have right in front of you, correct?
I do not have. I'm not that great of a note taker.
Because this is a professional podcast, right?
Very professional. But even better is I have the statement memorized. How about that?
Oh well, I mean, it is only like a sentence. So.
Yeah, it was something like, "No, we're not." Nah, was that what it was? They just said nah.
No.
Xbox.
I think they said they don't have any plans or
at this time or something like that.
Yeah, or they're constantly evaluating the pricing or something like that.
It was Nintendo, like, we're constantly evaluating how Sony has been. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah,
Nintendo said no and Xbox said no, and that was it. So no price increase for Xbox Series X and S or the Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo could probably get away with it, even though their hardware is like 5 years old. Although they did raise prices of their hardware last year when they released the OLED, so I think that was like $50 more.
But you were getting something for sure. I mean, people are really impressed with that screen. Can we pour some cold water over this, Randall Thor?
In what way?
I think that in a couple weeks, PlayStation will announce something. Like they'll announce a state of play, or they'll announce something, or they'll get ready to market God of War Ragnarok for its next showing. And I'm not saying this like this is how they put dirt over a grave, right? But I just feel like this is a terrible thing to do, the price hike. But I think we'll all have forgotten about it and forgiven them in the very near future, because You can't reverse this. This isn't like the Xbox Live price hike where everyone was up in arms and within 8 hours they reversed it. This is not being changed.
Yeah, but you know what? Happen? You know what? If the Xbox community was like the PlayStation community, everybody in the Xbox community would have defended the price hike of Xbox Live Gold to $120, and it would have been $120. So, because a lot of the PlayStation community are capping for this. They're saying that this is great.
They have this attitude that if you pay more, you get more, and
it's a premium product or whatever. But it's funny because nobody was talking about that when we were speculating about the price in 2020. Nobody was saying that the PS5 should be more expensive than the Xbox because they were worried.
They were hoping it would be $400 and the Series X would be $800.
Yeah, they were hoping it was going to be $100 cheaper than the Xbox, so it could destroy it. I'll sell 2 to 1, but suddenly now, no, it's great to be more expensive because it's premium. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, I guess. I mean, you're right in the sense that maybe nobody's going to be talking about this down the road. It'll just be accepted. It's like, well, PlayStation's $50 more. Hey, did you see the new gameplay they showed of Wolverine and Spider-Man 2 and God of War?
I think it'll be much sooner when
Last of Us.
And forget. Yeah.
Well, if it's if Sony has a showcase coming next week, they're probably going to announce it sometime this week. And then, the PlayStation fans are going to be like, all right, cool. Like, who cares about... I already have my PlayStation. This doesn't affect me. I can't wait to see what bangers I'll be playing on my PS5. My greatness.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll see how this all plays out. It's just... it's up to Microsoft to sort of take the initiative now to market the Xbox a little bit harder in these places that are affected by the price increase, in the Germanys and the Frances and the Spains and the UKs and all these places. it's up to Xbox to like maybe increase marketing and awareness that, hey, you know, we got value. We got these with Series S, we got Series X, we got, you know, Game Pass, we got all these things, and we're cheaper. You know, we're better and we're cheaper. So, you know, because people could just basically forget, and it's on Xbox to make people, to keep it in people's minds that, you know, no, we stayed the same and we got all this coming, so come join us. But even Phil said recently that, you know, he expects that demand for the consoles are still going to be outstrip supply this year, so maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't really watch TV, so I don't really see a lot of. I don't know who's marketing what, but that's what I would do if I was Xbox. I'd increase my marketing spend in those.
I definitely don't see
other
PlayStation or Xbox commercials on Hulu and Netflix content. And the only time I watch regular broadcast TV is like the Super Bowl, and then I'm like, oh, hey, a Halo commercial, but that's so rare. Let me grab a couple of supers, and I want to get into talking about what Phil said, because there's a lot to unpack there as well. Sith Lord, thank you so much for the super. Says, OMG, it's the birthday man with 1 million. Rand experienced yet another birthday.
Thank you. Well, no, I didn't.
Saturday.
Yes, on Saturday it was great. Yeah. We had a lot of fun. A lot of people tuned in. You know, it's incredible getting all these happy birthday wishes from everybody in the community. You know, so really made my day. Even though my day was nothing special, it's just me hanging out by myself. It really made me smile and made my day.
Not technically. Everybody, you were hanging out with Jez for half the day.
Well,
and all the great people that check out Xbox too, which is that makes it pretty cool.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna ask chat this. Okay. So, you know, Jez wished me happy birthday. He had Sean Labrie create the new rebranded Xbox 2 Peppa Pig podcast, right? Yep. Everybody during the podcast wishing me happy birthday. And my bestie, Colteastwood, didn't wish me happy birthday.
Nope.
Colteastwood totally forgot about me.
I was doing the burly manly thing where I, you know, try to pretend like, you know, I'm too tough to say happy birthday to you. Rand, while you were doing your podcast and celebrating your birthday online, I was at a rock band gig that I did with my band that I used to play with 6 years ago. And so I was like doing a different in front of the mic thing, lead singer, rhythm guitarist, and wow, it's tough to do when you're old, carrying all the gear. But yeah, it was a super busy day, and up at 7, all the way out of town, did the gig, got home, and then Rand's like, "Where's my birthday wish?" And I'm like, "Come on, Rand, happy birthday, bro."
Even Dealer Gaming wished me happy birthday. Dealer Gaming, he's like,
he did on Monday.
He texted me like, he texted me like at 11 p.m. He's like, I was just on Twitter and saw it was your birthday. Happy birthday. And I'm like, thanks, Dealer. You're better than Colt, because Colt hasn't said shit. And Colt's supposed to be my friend.
I told Rand.
I went to bed that night and I cried because Colt forgot about me.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry.
It's fun. It's just another day. You know, I'm 41. You're 62. It's all right, bro.
You know what? One of these, your next birthday or the one after that, you're not going to know what age you are. That's gonna be a real kicker. Assassin, who's been a channel member for 15 months, says, "Hi, Colt and Rand. Good to see and hear you guys. Rand, what kind of cake did you have for your birthday?" So who's excited about that PS5 Hike?
Well, I'm on a diet, so
nice work.
I've been trying to get healthy, but I did get a slice of Oreo cake.
Oh.
That the Jewel, which is the place where we go shopping to get all of our groceries, which is probably a Midwest thing. You guys probably don't know what Jewel is. But they had like a single slice where it was like Oreos on top and like chocolate, and I was like, yeah, that's a birthday present for me right there. You know,
I can almost taste it.
You can taste it, and I know you would have gotten You would have gotten some Mountain Dew to go along with it.
I would, yeah. I just need a little extra sugar just to hit the sweet spot. Hargeet Johnny says, happy belated birthday, Rand. And he put a little birthday cake, so he's teasing. Special Nick says, this is for Colt, not Rand. Rand hasn't earned it. And he gave me an Australian $2. So, yeah.
An Australian dollar, what do they call them? Dollaroos? Australian dollaroos? $2
Dodgery dues, I think is what they call them.
Dodgery dues?
Yeah. Tenant OVB with an Australian $2. So shout out to the Aussies here listening while working. And I think it's around probably about noon over there, depending on what part of Australia you're in, which is a massive landform, and I've driven all over it in Forza Horizon 3. Hargeet Johnny says, let's support Sony on platforms other than PS5 with a Spider-Man Steam Global key. And he put that in there several minutes ago. Biff Rinaldi, thank you for the super, says, what if Xbox drops the prices in these countries? Well, the Series S is $20 cheaper or $30 cheaper right now than normal. Right, Rand?
I mean, it fluctuates. Sometimes it's full price. Sometimes it can get down to $260. It just, I guess it depends on maybe whatever promotions some of these retailers are. But you know what, Colt?
What's
now that? With everything kind of in focus, right? In hindsight being 2020 and seeing how the shortages and now PlayStation raising the price, man, maybe Microsoft's best decision was really making that Xbox Series S, huh?
Oh, it's absolutely their best decision. $399. It plays all next generation games, no matter what pixel count, which won't matter soon. And yeah, I mean, people are bothered by the Series S. Some developers, but whenever you bring that up, that's a point of contention for people. They don't like that exists. They don't like it being counted amongst the PS5. It's been a problem.
Stop the count.
Stop
it. This should be totally different.
If you're having a good time here, show your support. We've got almost 800 people watching the show. This is XC Podcast. I'm Colt Eastwood here on the Colt Eastwood channel, and I'm here with my really good friend, Randall Thor, from his Randall Thor 19 YouTube channel and Xbox 2 podcast. Hit the like button to show your support and share this out so people can check out what we're going to talk about there.
You know, you say that like the Randall Thor 19 YouTube channel makes me think like I should change it to like Randall Gaming or something, you know,
yeah. I mean, you get iconic enough, you won't have to do that, Randall Thor. Let me get a couple more supers. Red Wolf says with the $10, since it isn't affecting the USA right now, we have to make a stand about how we feel, because if it was on the other shoe, no one would defend it, or because it isn't affecting us. I hope that makes sense. I think he's saying, what if Microsoft decided they need to, deal with taking that hit on the extra cost of components? When would you see Xbox raise the price of the Series S consoles, Series and X?
See, the reason I think they were a little bit robotic in their response and not really like flowery, because the Xbox really could have went for like the kill, so to speak. They could have easily put out a statement that's like, we know times are tough and inflation is making things hard, but here at Xbox, we just want to let everybody know that the cost of the Series X and S are going to stay the same, and we won't pass the costs on to you, our fans and customers. Really sort of clowning PlayStation and throwing them under the bus, right? They could have done that, but it was definitely more of a corporate answer, a robotic answer, because even though I think the Xbox has no plans, you don't know what the future holds. Like, what if 6 months from now, there's a run on silicon, and now silicon costs, increases 1,000%, and then they're forced to really, jack up their prices because of it. So it's one of those things where they don't want to put themselves in a definitive in a corner statement. So it's like, we're evaluating, we're not doing it, because they're not going to, but you can't always say like for sure, because you never know, what's going to happen with all these things a year from now. So, and as far as like, what he said, like we need to speak up 100%, because like a recent example, and we mentioned it earlier with, Xbox Live Gold, if everybody had been quiet, or if everybody had just started bootlicking Xbox, they would have kept the price increase. They would have been like, all right, well, nobody has a problem with this, and everybody's saying how good it is and stuff, so it's now $120 a year. It's only through our response and how everybody felt on social media and elsewhere that they were like, yeah, we can't do this. Xbox is very much trying to be the good guys. Like,
but
they got a very like grassroots movement going, right? So
it's weird to say grassroots with one of the biggest companies on the planet, but the difference between the Xbox Live price hike was there was no justification for it. There was no rising costs that justified it. There was nothing being added to. There was no outside something affecting them to rise the price of Xbox Live Gold. They're just like, this is going to be the new price. It's basically double. And everyone fought against it, and they realized, and as we know, they did it in the middle of a global pandemic when a lot of people were losing their jobs. So a very tone deaf situation. But here you have PlayStation, who is the market leader. They are at the top next to the PlayStation Switch. They sell the most games on the console space, probably, I would say. And there just is no justification for them to not eat this. But when you look at the stock value of Sony versus Microsoft can stand to just kind of eat some of these things because they're making money in other ventures. Does that make sense, Rand?
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation's only $1 billion, company, and Microsoft is $1 trillion company. So they can afford to essentially take a loss. Plus, Xbox's main market is the US, and as we've said before, the exchange rate is a lot better here than it is elsewhere. So it's one of those scenarios. Like, look, I'll always speak my mind. I made a nice little spicy video about this where I had a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Because I do, when I look at Jim Ryan, I do see a person who is very much like, doesn't care what customers think. He's very much the cold calculating businessman. Basically his bean counters are like, we need to raise prices, inflation's up, our profits are down, we need, we could raise it by 50 and nobody's gonna care. And Jim Ryan's like, all right, do it. Whereas like Xbox would have to really think twice about that because of how they're perceived by people. So
the chat's killing me, by the way. I'm listening. I'm on your every word, Rand, but the chat also does kill me. They're hilarious. Paris said, "Hey, Rand, I need Game Pass so I can play all these games at once." You need them all to.
Wait, are we saying the Paris?
Paris. Yeah, Paris Lily.
The Paris.
Paris likes to jump in here once in a while, but if he sees Rand, he sees blood, and he will strike. Yeah, he says, tell Rand to play all the Game Pass games at once.
Yeah, well, tell Paris to go watch one episode a week. Why don't you play one chapter of Last of Us Part 1 and then wait a week to play Part 2, right? Because that's set in seasons, right? Spring, summer, winter, fall. So, Paris, I hope you play through fall.
He can only play 45 minutes, because it's got to be like an episode. 45 minutes.
No. See, you got to wait a week because by waiting a week, you can anticipate. That's what everybody tells me. If you have to wait a week in between things, it makes you anticipate it more. So hopefully, when Paris is sitting there playing through and reviewing Last of Us Part 1 to tell us if it's actually worth the $70, hopefully he played through fall or play through spring, whatever one is first, waited a week to play through summer, waited another week to play through fall, and then waited another week to play through the last season, because that'd be the proper way to get yourself hyped, get yourself anticipating everything that's going on in that game, right? Because that's how we consume media. Because I don't know about you, when your favorite artist puts out a new record, don't you just listen to one song and then a week later listen to
not even the
song
same,
number
Rand.
2? It is the same exact
Albums
thing.
aren't episodic. Albums and games aren't episodic.
Do you read one chapter of a book and then wait to read the second chapter of a book a week later? No, of course you don't.
No.
I will die on this hill. I will go to battle against Paris over
Paris
this.
says, I need my $70 worth so I can savor it and play it in 15-minute increments. Oh, that's freaking hilarious.
I need to get on a podcast with Paris so we can debate this.
You know what? Invite him on the show.
I will die on this. I had Paris on Xbox too. It was great. People loved it. It was like, you got it, Paris on there? I'm like, yeah, man, Paris is great.
I got to be on that same show. I think we were on together for a little bit. I don't remember. The cool thing about this podcast community is it all kind of feels like we're all working together all the time. But I want to. You started to bring up something before you tried to arm wrestle Paris, and I've seen his arms. So Rand, please don't do that. Please don't do that. But
I wouldn't arm wrestle him. I'd lose.
You were talking about Jim Ryan, and Digital Foundry put out their report video this morning, and John Linneman, who favors PlayStation but mostly favors retro games. I really, really like Linneman. He's really freaking talented. His videos are so well made. But he expressed some frustration today, Rand. I don't know if you watched the clip where he talked about he feels like Jim Ryan is kind of the Don Mattrick of PlayStation right now.
Ooh, when I think of that, I think of your picture that you made of Don Mattrick morphing into Jim Ryan, right? Or Jim Ryan morphing into Don Mattrick or whatever, which one it was.
I got to preface this that I made the meme, but I don't. I can make the joke, but I really like what Jim's been doing. And all the stuff that Jim's been doing, Rand, is not going to affect me. And I've said many times here and other places, I've got a PS5 down here. If they put a game on PC day and date, I'm pretty sure I'm going to play it on the PS5 and not even bother with the PC because I like just like the stuff that's going on with the console and my progress, right? Well, you know, the trophies, whatever. It's fine. The PS5 runs games really, really great. But tell me what you think about this Don Mattrick thing, like, because it seems like there's been the articles popping up lately. You've kind of shared a couple with me about the distaste for PlayStation lately. Is this a real thing?
You see, that's the thing. Is it a real thing as in, is it sweeping a general populace of people people that aren't, because that's the thing, like you get on Twitter and you see all this stuff and you just don't know if that's really how people truly feel, because Twitter and social media can sometimes be an echo chamber, so you don't really know what the general feeling is. But I think for a lot of people, they look at like Don Mattrick, and the difference between John and Jim was like Don actually was a developer, you know. Okay. There's a big difference there. Don was a gamer, you know, he created games. Jim just looks like he's a businessman, an accountant of some kind. So people look at Don and they look at Jim, and the thing is, it's like they view them both like that because they sort of feel like that's where Xbox started to go in a different direction, and how PlayStation is kind of going in a different direction than Jim, right? Like Don came in, and one of his things was like media, so like Netflix. Then he, you know, was around when Kinect came in, right? And Xbox started going after a more casual audience. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you know, the brainchild, TV. The Xbox One isn't really a gaming console. It's more of a hub to watch your TV shows and, hook your cable box into. And it was just kind of like, that was his vision. And he totally kind of destroyed what Xbox had going for it during the 360 generation. And then you look at Jim Ryan and people. I mean,
he did it before the 360 ended. Like, remember when in 2009 or 2010 when the Kinect came out, was hot, and he was pushing Windows 7 integration across your house. Like, he wanted everybody to buy a 360 for each part of the room so they could get their entertainment, their TV, and then their music put that through that. I want to talk about that in a minute, but keep going.
Well, so then you have Jim Ryan, who comes in after, Sean Layden, after Andrew House and Jack Tretton, where like PlayStation 4 was all about they position themselves as like, this is gaming. We made a system just for gaming. We made games just for you guys. And they had a collection of great games. And PlayStation, they made a stumble in the PS3 era. They came back strong. And Jim Ryan takes over. And first thing you know, boom, lying about generations, right? Remember the whole cross-gen thing? Lying about generations because they didn't want to catch the heat on that. and then 2, raising the price $10 to $70, right? You also now, if you want to upgrade your game from PS4 to PS5 and something like $10 upgrade fee. So it kind of seems
and there were
like
a lot of little things like your PS4 controllers aren't going to work with your PS5, which may not sound like a big deal, but you buy a PS5, you get one controller, and you probably have 3 or 4 from your PS4. And like Xbox, people were like, it was kind of cool that if only anyway.
Well, the thing was, it's like so you had like the Peter Moores and the Jay Allards of the 360 era, who's definitely seemed like this is about gaming first and foremost. But then Don Mattrick was like, no, this is more about business and these other things. And then
entertainment,
And then like the Jack Trentons and the Sean Layden's were like, this is
love those guys.
100% first and foremost about gaming and PlayStation, right? So one of the big reasons why the PlayStation guys don't like Jim is because then Jim is out here being like, PlayStation consoles aren't enough for me. And he's bringing all of his games to PC. And we know the PlayStation fans don't like that. But then not only is he bringing all these games to PC, he's also being like, we're making live service games. And a lot of the community don't like live service games. So
it's okay to say you're making live service games because you're like, oh, they're making 10 more games that I'm going to get. But the problem is the narrative that was driven for 10 years that Xbox doesn't make games where you can get the single player experience, and PlayStation says, oh, we're going to make these games. Like they almost said, hey, we're going to do what Xbox is doing and make these service-based games. But really what they're saying is we're going to do what's trending in the market. But it goes against that narrative, so it really upsets people. Right?
If you put yourself in the shoes of a PlayStation fan who really maybe fell in love with the company and what they were doing with the PS4 era, where it was about single-player gaming, and you are the most important factor of it because these games are exclusive. And then the next guy that comes in is like, you're not important enough. You have to pay more for these games. We're also taking these games and putting them on PC, and also we're following the industry trend where we're chasing the money and making live service games after a generation where we told you single player is all that really matters. You could definitely tell or see why some PlayStation fans would look at Jim Ryan and being like, this is our Don Mattrick.
Shout out to Mon Dattrick in the chat, by the way. Say hi to him, Rand. We got Mon Dattrick.
Who? Mon Dattrick. What's going on?
I love it. The kind of cool thing. There's these Don Mattrick and Jim Ryan type accounts, and they're not terrible people. They keep it pretty decent. So I like to see them around because they're actually pretty decent and nice, and they have a good clean fun. So we can appreciate that. You know a lot about this, Rand. A little side shoot out of this thing. Don Mattrick, I talked about how he was leading the 360 into greatness, and then the Kinect thing was huge. The Kinect was like the most popular accessory of all time at that time. And the Xbox 360 sort of became, they put Rare on Kinect games. You guys know this, right? You know what kind of the picture I'm painting. The 360 toward the very end of the generation kind of morphed into this gaming platform that we weren't subscribed to, right? I want to ask you, Rand, about, because people say often that when Don Mattrick was in charge, Xbox was doing its best. But you know about the beginning of the Xbox One generation and who brought those games that kicked off that generation. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So, Phil Spencer was head of Xbox Game Studios. So,
what are we talking
people talk about like Rise and Quantum Break. Okay. I mean, I think Phil joined joined head of Xbox Studios in 2009, maybe, I want to say it was.
Okay.
So like all the games that came towards the later end of the 360 gen and then all the launch titles, Phil would have been heavily involved in that. So yeah, there are people that look at like, oh, Xbox was great when Don Mattrick is in charge, when we had games or whatever. But, that's not necessarily true. But then again, like Phil was, head of studios, but yeah, it's just, bro.
I mean, is it true? I think Tim Dog said that.
I hate the Kinect. It ruined Xbox. It ruined Xbox.
It kind of did. And we just bought for $20, we just on Amazon we bought the disc of Dance Central 2. It's actually really hard to find. We lost our disc. We play it once a year, and we were playing it the other day. And I haven't had the Connect up in a couple of years because we lost the disc 2 or 3 years ago, and it brought back memories of that era of 360. And it's super fun, but the rest of the Connect stuff I think is just a total throwaway for me, and a joke, right? But is it true, as Tim Dog said, that Phil was responsible for procuring Sunset Overdrive and, like you said, Rise, Son of Rome, and Quantum Break? Like, when Xbox was actually putting out games at the beginning of the generation, and then after that, Don Mattrick left and all those games were already released, I think. Is that kind of how the picture went for Xbox?
All those games are in development and stuff. Yeah, Don Mattrick didn't last long. They released the console November of 2013, and I think he was gone by March the next year because Phil became head of Xbox. Don Mattrick was like, "Oh man, I screwed up." I like to say he was fired, and they just kind of told him to leave. Yeah. I mean, like, somebody had to pay for how the Xbox One launched and everything, leading up to it. Because Jesus, what a disaster! What a disaster that was. So we got Phil Spencer, the head, and then eventually, he got on the executive board. The purse strings were loosened. Started acquiring studios, then started acquiring publishers.
It started doing the gamers first focus because, like he said in many interviews, that the first thing he did as head of Xbox was to put the gamer in the center of everything, and that's when they did Back Compat, which is a free thing. That was a huge turnaround. I want to talk about this interview with Bloomberg, and if you're having a good time here, we've got almost 1,000 people watching the show. I'm here with Randall Thor 19, the man with $1 million. Hit the like button.
1,000 people tuned in to hear Colt Eastwood.
Tune in to hear Colt Eastwood look at Rand's icon.
There are probably 1,000 people tune in and be like, "Where the heck is Gaz? Where's the sauce?" The sauce would have been very potent this week if Gaz was here.
In fact, I have it on good authority that Gaz is trying to enjoy his vacation abroad while he tries to create sauce in a foreign market. So hopefully that works out for him, and he gets out of that. What do you call it? The gulag soon. He can make his way back.
Dude, it was amazing. Did you see because of the money he saved with Xbox Game Pass, the penthouse suite he was able to afford?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the morning he got there, he sent me a video of this extravagant place that I could only dream of staying. I think Gaz might have other business ventures, who knows, or he's just loaded rich, but I'm happy for him. He's a good guy. But let's I think that's well, actually, there was a couple things. Before I talk about Phil Spencer, this will be really quick, but I think it's fun. PlayStation price hiked the PS5. They reduced costs for the manufacturing, and they still price hiked, Rand. And then they turned around and announced that they have an exclusive quest only on PlayStation for Hogwarts Legacy, the Harry Potter game. I need your opinion on this, Rand. Is this sleazy or is this greasy?
Well,
that's business.
See, I might go a different direction. I think this is maybe more on Warner Brothers. I think because it takes two to tango, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Sony's basically being like, "Here's some money, get us an exclusive content." But just because you're offering money for something exclusive doesn't mean the other party has to take it. So,
I mean, if you're offered money for, is this something that they said, okay, we're gonna pick this quest and we're gonna slice it apart?
Oh, totally. Here. It's not like they weren't going to create this quest, and because of Sony's money, they were able to go and actually make it. Like, it was just Sony's like, hey,
hang on, pause. Shout out to Zocker who's leaving the chat. He's really sick, and I was hanging out with him a bit on the party chat, trying to cheer him up, and we've been having some good laughs. So he'll be fine. But yeah, he's been feeling really under the weather, and when one of your buddies is sick, it's good to make him laugh so their ribs hurt or something.
Is he really sick though? He made like 15 videos.
He's a machine. But shout out to Zocker.
He's dying, and he's still being like making videos. Like,
he's like, upload, like reaching. Yeah. Like the tendril of his finger, the blood drip hits the button. Zocker's awesome. So I'm sorry. Do you even remember what you were saying? We're talking about the exclusive quest.
Yeah. So basically, Sony's like, we got this money we're gonna give you. Can you give us anything exclusive? And they're like, well, we do have this one quest that we could give you.
We do have this one we're thinking about cutting.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a shitty. And I'm gonna use the word here on your. It's a shitty practice. Because Sony did that last gen with Destiny, where like guns and
a whole strike
like would be exclusive. Sometimes the Call of Duty stuff, there'd be like a mode or whatever that would be exclusive for a year. I think that is pretty shady practices, but at the same time, I can't just say it's Sony's fault because, Warner Brothers is the one who accepted the money and decided to also do it. So it's really on both of them. Because Sony, I mean, you could see why Sony wants it, right? Like,
I don't see any studio saying, no, we don't, we're above that. I
mean,
I can see where you're coming from, but I also think that when the deal is proposed, it's going to happen, and of course, it's a crappy business practice.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sony's doing it because they think it'll draw business to them, right? That Harry Potter is such a big thing that, okay, we're going to market it, so when you think Harry Potter, you think PlayStation, and we also going to be like, hey, Xbox fans and PC fans, you don't get the full experience because you're missing something, so pick it up on PlayStation. I understand why PlayStation would do it because it gives them, a leg up on everybody else.
This is the place to play Hogwarts Legacy.
This is the place to play Harry Potter,
Void Rat. Be nice. I asked the chat if they were enjoying this gameplay. I mean, I think the gameplay is kind of entertaining enough to watch, but when I told Fonz that I was enjoying the game, but it's really crappy how it's not a completed fixed product or whatever, so people got really mad that I said I was enjoying it. But I mean, I did pay for it, and it is nice to get your money's worth. I feel like I am, but yeah, the exclusive quest, I don't know. One more question is, how long do you think that quest is? Because I kind of, in my mind, am thinking sometimes a quest is maybe 8-15 minutes, and maybe that's all this is.
I don't know. It's tough to say without knowing any of the quest lengths in the main game, But hey, it's just one of those things where Sony's like, hey, you know what? It's a necessity. We got to raise the prices. Jim Dance Moves Line Ryan's out there talking about how they have to do this. And then also, like, they're also spending millions of dollars acquiring exclusive Harry Potter content. So,
Yeah. I mean, that was a done deal probably a year or two ago. But Paris keeps writing in the chat that it doesn't make sense to make Call of Duty exclusive. Let's talk about... I was going to talk about the Savage studio that PlayStation bought, a mobile studio, but I really don't want to get into the conversation because it's more PlayStation stuff. It's not really going to affect the core audience.
When did you change this to PlayStation Newscast, Colteastwood?
Right. Yeah, as Dealer calls it, the PNC, whenever I talk about the PlayStation stuff. I'll just bookend that by saying it's a mobile game studio, and most of us are more interested in what the mainline content on either console is going to be. So Phil Spencer had this interview with Bloomberg, and boy, did they chop the heck out of this thing. I could tell, like, they cut off major segments of what Phil was asked or how he answered questions, and everything came out great. But one of the things was, the first thing he talked about was Activision, and Paris is in the chat saying, Rand, that doesn't make money or business sense for them to make Call of Duty exclusive. But what were Phil's words when he said about the exclusivity for Call of Duty? Do you remember, as you reported on it a few days ago?
I'd have to look.
He left something open, and I don't have it with me. I don't think.
Well, here's the thing. You're not going to make it a definitive statement right now regarding what you're going to do with Call of Duty, because you don't want to. Things may change. So, like, she asked him about, like, does that mean you'll be able to play Call of Duty in perpetuity on the console? And he sort of was, on PlayStation, and he kind of was just like, didn't really give a firm answer, because if he says yes, you'll always be able to play Call of Duty on PlayStation. Well, now you basically signaled your, whatever, and now you've told people, no, you will be able to. So you basically backed yourself into a corner. So
yeah, you have to back on your word in a business situation.
It's going to be interesting. I'm of the opinion, and so is Jez. Jez was saying this since they announced the deal that Call of Duty is going to be multi-platform, and a lot of the other games they make will be exclusive. So we'll see how that goes. But he also talked about the Activision deal, that things were progressing nicely, and he was feeling positive about it. And then you got the report that maybe the UK is going to take a longer look at it, and who knows how long that means it's going to get delayed to, or if it gets delayed at all, or if a lot of people are hoping it gets finished this year, but I think it more or less gets finished next year.
Yeah. I'm sticking with that original estimate where people were saying summer of 2023, and I don't see any reason why it would be sped up. But I also agree, like, why make it? You can't make a definitive statement because they don't own Activision. So, you can ask that question, and like you could tell your intent, but like you said, why paint yourself into a corner where you have to change like PlayStation price hiking the console? The console's $499 across the world, and then you have to back out and make a change, an adjustment, and tell people something else. And it could be the same thing with Call of Duty. But I also am smart enough to realize that Xbox knows, like as Phil says, right? He says the PlayStation platform is very important to us, and as a worldwide community of the gaming industry, to have PlayStation there. And what he's also saying is we can make a boatload of money selling Call of Duty on PlayStation for the rest of our careers, right? Isn't that really all it boils down to?
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty brings in a lot of money. So it's I'm sure they'd be running the books to seeing how much they could potentially make by making it exclusive, and how much that would draw and increase Xbox Game Pass numbers or console sales versus how much are you giving up by not having on that platform. Does it really affect the bottom line? And they probably come to a decision, if they haven't already. I think
at this time.
I think one of the decisions they made from the very start of that whole thing is what they were planning on doing with Call of Duty. But it's interesting, though, because in this interview, you're right, this article was chopped up, right?
Yeah.
Because the video went into greater details about some things.
Well, it wasn't very well chopped up. Like some of the stuff was edited very abruptly, and so it was very obvious.
It started off by saying that Xbox was the home of Sonic.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would say beyond a few second sound bites on that? Because I got DM'd that several times. I think they just shared something. I'm like, I think it was just somebody who was doing their writing and didn't check their information.
I mean, not only writing, but they included a video of Sonic too. So that was just something that somebody sat there and did. But I don't think it means Bloomberg leaked the acquisition of Sega, because but Phil mentioned one of the things, because people talk like we're console gamers. You skipped over the PlayStation buying the mobile studios because who cares, really, right?
Sure.
Like mobile studio, we know they're going to do it. Mobile's the biggest. It's where all the money is in the market, essentially, right? Like the mobile market's
it just doesn't affect most of our day-to-day concerns.
But like one of the things when people talk about Activision and Blizzard, they strictly focus on Call of Duty, and it's like, oh yeah, we got some Blizzard stuff. But when Phil was asked about like, hey,
here we go.
He was said basically, yeah, we got this because of King, we got this because of the mobile play, and then Blizzard for PC. Almost like Call of Duty wasn't really a factor. It was
weird because his first response in the intent to buy Activision, Blizzard, and King was to respond to the Call of Duty bullet, right? It was like very, very quick that he had to say, look, our intent is to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, when the deal really was about a mobile games leverage and to have Blizzard, which makes incredibly popular, very lucrative games on PC only, which is something we're going to see a lot of.
But the thing is, like, the gaming journalists and everything out there, like, they only care about Call of Duty is also the biggest game, but Microsoft doesn't have a mobile play, so King was incredibly important to them. And so it's one of those things where like me, you, and everybody in chat doesn't care about King, but it was certainly like one of the reasons, maybe the biggest reason, or one of the big. I mean, Phil directly said, "Yeah, it was King." Lot of interesting things here. My buddy Everborn Saga was like conspiracy theorists all over this by saying that Phil's out there talking to Bloomberg because the deal's getting pushed through soon. Why? Because why else is he out there giving? Because Phil has been very quiet this year.
Yeah,
the Activision deal in January, and then they basically locked Phil in a bunker, and he hasn't really said much this year. They brought him out for E3, and Phil was
because
basically
Phil
was like, "See you in 2023, guys."
As we've learned from friends we've talked to, and we've talked to Phil before, right? His friends that work with him like to say Phil will just say whatever he wants. Like he's like, I'm the boss, and if I want to talk about something, I want to talk about it. But he's got his PR people like, we don't want to have to deal with explaining that later on. And that's so funny when he was on that. I checked the comment section, Rand, and people are like, how can you not love Phil? He's just got that smile, and I don't know. He's just pretty honest. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see
because some people think he's just a liar, Colteastwood.
Or he's the cancer of gaming. He's making PlayStation put their games on PC.
You know what's funny? I said this on Xbox too, that these Phil Spencer quotes brings out so many people, and these people have like different interpretations of what Phil means. It's almost like Phil's comments in these interviews are like the Rorschach test, where it's like,
what's that?
Well, it's like the Rorschach test to see if you're insane. Like when someone shows you an ink blot of something, they're like, what do you see in this ink blot?
Yeah.
So like me and you see this thing, but then all these other people see something else.
They see Sega being acquired, and
well, no, it's not that. It's like Phil talks about like, oh, you get an Xbox and your son gets a PlayStation.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm sorry.
And then people are like, Phil's telling you guys that there's no more exclusives, and Phil's such a hypocrite. He doesn't want there to be more exclusives, yet he goes and buys Activision, and I sit there and I'm read this stuff, and I'm like,
where do you get this? Yeah.
Like, do you have any reading comprehension? Like, do you understand? Granted, like the article wasn't written in the best way, especially when you go, because you know what was funny? We talk about like people talk about clickbait, right? Clickbait, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of websites like Kotaku and IGN, they ran Phil's comments about the exclusive thing, about how we were going to see less and less exclusive content, right, in the future.
That's not what he said.
It's not what he said, but they took that quote and then they combined it with the quote about like reducing friction to getting people to play together. And so different websites use different angles to push their clickbait.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, get their news from all these different places. So they see that and they're like, whoa, that comment like really, really looks like, yeah, Phil doesn't want there to be more exclusives. Like, and it's like, did anybody actually read no, I know nobody reads the articles because nobody watches the videos we make half the time. Right?
yeah, they don't. I really feel like people click a video and then they scroll down to the comment section and start, getting out, start taping up their fists.
They start typing away, yeah.
But what Phil said in the video, even so much is what?
Even so much like me and one of my buddies had a debate about what Phil said. Because even my buddy was sort of like, Phil's talking about this. Phil's talking about Xbox games being on PlayStation, PlayStation games being on Xbox, this lowering of barriers of, stuff. Okay, and I'm like, no, Phil is talking about crossplay.
We have to reset for the audience or anybody who's listening on demand.
You set it up. And I'll knock it down, Cody.
I'll do my best, and you can fill in if I miss anything. But Phil has asked. He starts off by explaining let's say you go and buy a PlayStation at the store, and then your friend or your neighbor buys a Xbox, and they sit down to play a game, and they're like, oh, we can't play together because you bought a PlayStation and I bought an Xbox. And he's like, we're all about reducing that friction where you can play games together, and we want to see less and less of that in the future. And what I took from that was that he's saying when you buy a console, it's 90% about buying a console. That people hate to hear this, Rand. 90% of what you do when you buy a console is to play multiplats. And this is exactly what Phil was talking about. He was talking about somebody buying a PlayStation to play Fortnite, somebody buying an Xbox to play Fortnite, and they go to link up. This isn't the case because there's crossplay, and they can't play together because they're on a different piece of plastic. And he used those words, and it's all laid out for you to understand. He's talking about the majority of your console experience is multiplats all year long, all generation long. Or most of the time you're playing multiplat games, and we've seen less and less this past generation or so, especially this past 4 or 5 years. We've seen so many games where you could play with PlayStation people, you can play with PC people, and it's become a metamorphosis of the industry where you no longer, and it's partially because I think the industry as a whole looks at this and says, look, we don't need to create this artificial barrier. You know, Ubisoft makes this game for nearly everybody. Let's make it so they can play together. So we have to do stuff on our end. So you had this argument with your friend, and he thought Phil was talking about exclusive games. Right.
Which, yeah, because like, okay, sure, maybe you can read it that way, right? But I was like, listen, I've read all Phil's interviews. I cover Xbox. He's used this exact example before when talking about crossplay, because my buddy was like, crossplay is normal now. It exists.
Yeah.
Like, why is he talking about crossplay like it's this new fangled magic thing? It's been around for years now, and I'm just like, well. Yeah. So, but then the thing is, like, okay, just from that article, but then they combine it with the less exclusives in the future, even though they were talking about one device exclusives, right?
Yeah.
And then the actual video comes out, and she literally asks him, why are you such a big proponent of cross-platform play? And then he gives the answer, and it's like, well, okay, well, there you go. Like, he's literally asked about cross-platform play and why he likes it so much. So it's like, but everybody already had basically screamed their heads off and had all these Twitter spaces and all these tweets about how Phil Spencer's a hypocrite and how he doesn't want exclusives and exclusives are going away and all this stuff based on a chopped up interview. But when you watch the actual like video stuff, you know, there's things that were cut out. Like he said, the industry has a lot of these artificial constraints, talking about like not being able to play together and stuff like that. So it's just funny to see. Like, look, the whole less and less exclusives thing, we're seeing it now in action. Like, Xbox hasn't had an exclusive in 6 years since Quantum Break went to PC. Every single one of Xbox's games is on PC day one, on mobile with streaming with the iOS and Android. Pretty soon, well, actually, not even pretty soon, you can get a Samsung TV 2022 model and play your Xbox. You don't even need an Xbox anymore to play Xbox games. So Xbox hasn't been making games.
Yeah, that's been true since 2016.
For a device.
Right.
And while PlayStation was, we can see PlayStation now putting their things on PC. So God of War 2018 is no longer an exclusive because it's on PC. And with the rumors of a PlayStation PC launcher coming down the road, and then making these live service games, which are definitely going to have to be on PC. Yep. You know, they're not going to... God of War Ragnarok will be on PC one day because they're not going to put the first one on there and not put the second one on there. So you can already see Sony moving away from the exclusives to a single device. So their games are going to be broadened. The only one still kind of stuck in the old way is Nintendo because they keep their games on the Switch. And that's kind of what Phil was talking about, but yet people constantly misinterpret.
Yeah,
you know,
it really
for their
was
own ways.
Him looking at. He's like, you know, you've got a company that only puts their game on one piece of plastic. He didn't use those words, but I'm like, he's talking about Nintendo. He's sort of talking about PlayStation, but it's mostly Nintendo who's been very staunch about that. Let me read a couple supers before they get really super old. But a long time ago, Yudani Gazada gave out a $10 Xbox gift code, which will get you 1/6 of Saints Row, which is about what it is 1/6 of a game. Thank you, Yodani. Red Wolf, thank you, says Rand is now old enough for Colt to adopt him. I'm already his dad. It's amazing. He's a great son.
Yeah. I can't wait to go swimming though in your pool.
Yeah, come over and hang out in the pool. Get Mountain Dew and you're on your new diet, but we'll hang
come
out.
over and swim in the pee pool.
Never put your dogs in the pool. It's all right. No, it was fun. Texas, thank you so much for the super. Says Series S is $290 with Madden 23 bundled in. Sony snuck these increases into the U.S. with the Horizon Forbidden West bundle at $550. That also shocked me, Rand, that I didn't really look into this. I just assumed that Horizon Forbidden West was free with your purchase of a PS5. Texas says, I can see them putting out a God of War Ragnarok bundle at $600 in other parts of the country, they say. You think they're gonna bundle that? Like, that's kind of a thing they used to do. Like when Halo comes out, it's bundled when it's released. And
you would also get a custom console to go along with it. Are they gonna make a custom, God of War system? Maybe.
We've yet to see one from PlayStation, but we've had one, right? Just the one actual official one was the Halo Infinite console. Which
yes.
I don't know. I didn't want
what
that.
happened to Halo Infinite, Colteastwood?
We don't talk about it on this show, Rand.
Aren't we supposed to be playing co-op?
Wait. Let me look at the date. Today's 29th. Yeah, we're supposed to play it.
Still got 2 more days, possibly?
2 more days. Yeah, 2 more days is coming out. 343 said co-op is in the end of August. But they didn't say what year.
Oh, okay.
108 Dragon. Oh, my good friend 108 Dragon says, thank you, 108 says, Colt, come on, don't you want to get a third job for a premium experience on Inflation Station? It's the place where we want all of our hard-earned money. We deserved it. Yeah, I've been saying lately, Rand, that PlayStation is like L'Oreal. I'm worth it. Pay extra. As Jim Ryan just flows back his blonde, beautiful hair. You don't know, Kizana, thank you for the $2. Says, anyway, here's a giant enemy crab for the Stagflation 5. I hope that's not a horrible word, but I just read it. But Hargeet Chani with the $10. Thank you, Hargeet. Let's get him on the show again, shall we? He says, Xbox changed priorities after Peter Moore left, and it started the downfall. First priority, high performance, fail. Second, Call of Duty, fail. Third, first and second party exclusives, partial, fail. Phil turned it all around. Does he have the history right on that, Rand? High performance, wasn't their first priority. What happened with Call of Duty last generation? PlayStation got all the marketing deals?
No, Xbox had all the marketing deals for the 360 gen. They
I think
only
he might
lost
be talking
it.
about Xbox One.
Oh, was he talking about Xbox One?
I think, because he says after Peter Moore left.
Because he mentioned Peter Moore, and I was like, that was 360. That was like, I think he left in 2007.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's. I think that's the year I bought my 360. Red Wolf, thank you for the $2. Says, shout out to the chat for taking care of each other with a happy emoji. And Highlander 001, thank you, Highlander, says, do you think Saints Row would have done well in Game Pass? I mean, any fun game would do well in Game Pass, but I don't want Xbox buying broken, buggy stuff. I want them to buy high-quality stuff, like stuff we're going to talk about toward a little later in the show, because there's some good stuff coming this year on Game Pass. TK Chillin, thank you for the 10, says, I actually think the 360 gen just lasted a couple years too long. I can't blame Microsoft for going with the TV and entertainment apps, because I would have had 100 friends online and 70 would be on Netflix and YouTube. Rand, do you remember those days?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot. That's another thing in Jim Ryan's favor. Was Don Mattrick wanted all the TV stuff, and now PlayStation is making all this TV movie stuff, right? They got Uncharted movie, they got The Last of Us TV show, they got a God of War TV show, Horizon TV show, Days Gone without Sam. They're making a Days Gone movie, but they're not making a Days Gone sequel, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I totally forgot about that. That's also one of the things that people look at Jim Ryan. You're like, oh yeah. So chalking another thing up for him.
That's another thing I want to ask you a little bit later in the show about that perception. RDX Son of Fett with the Canadian $6.99. Thank you, RDX Son of Fett. This is breaking news. Sony acquired the acquisition of console exclusivity, a price hiking game consoles now exclusively hiked for the gamers. Oh boy, messy. TK Chillin, thank you for the 5. Says, let's get real. Phil's mostly only been playing Destiny 2. He's always leveled way too high. It takes a lot of time to do that. That's not true. Anybody can add him on Xbox. He's been actually playing a lot of stuff. Rand, you talk to him once in a while. You send him a little message, say, hi Phil, how are you? How's it going? Like when big stuff's happening. What's Phil been playing for the great people? He's messing around with Dusk to Dawn or Dusk Falls. I mean, yeah.
What's Phil been playing recently?
Yeah. He's played a bunch of games that are in Game Pass and spoken on.
I think recently he's been playing Death Stranding on PC Game Pass.
Ooh,
Getting that Kojima going.
That's a traitor right there. I will also be playing that probably next week. I actually plan to finish Saints Row in about a week or sometime this week, and then I'm going to be getting on that PC over here and playing Death Stranding. We'll see how that goes. See if I like it. Dead Planet, thank you for the 2. Says Game Pass Day 1 is the new form of exclusivity. And McBound, who's been a channel member for 5 months, says happy birthday, Randall Thor.
Thank you.
It lasts for like days, doesn't it?
Very, very kind.
Yeah, it means a lot, guys. He appreciates that. Like it's cool to hear from people and them just, ask how you're doing or say happy birthday. We appreciate that for real. One more thing. Hargeet says 900 plus likes, 900 plus watching, and only 350 likes. Hargeet demands that you hit the like button. Yeah, if you're enjoying the show, you can just
we demand Hargeet. We demand Hargeet joins Twitter.
I think he's super happy without it, so I demand he doesn't. But the like button's pretty easy to hit if you're enjoying the show and you're being entertained, you're learning. We're about to move topics. I'm getting tired of talking about PlayStation. Let's talk about Gamescom. There are some showings and a couple revelations there. The first is a game you are pretty sure I won't like, but I'm still excited, regardless of your opinion. Lies of P, the Pinocchio mature Souls game. Rand, what is going on with Lies of P? Weirdest name.
Lies of P. A lot of people were sort of picking it for their Gamescom game of the show. Yeah. It is a Souls-like set in the world of Pinocchio, which is odd to say. Mm-hmm. Very, very weird. Looks a lot like Bloodborne. And it's like, hey, if you're not going to make a Bloodborne 2, then somebody's just going to make a spiritual successor. And there was like a demo people got to play. I know Jez played it, and he loved it. And
what can you say really quick about, for those that didn't catch your show on Saturday, Jez probably had a few memorable words to say about Lies of P having hands-on.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
He was pretty impressed.
Jez will be writing articles about all the stuff he played, so look out for those this week. But you're not going to like it, Colteastwood.
I'll take that as a challenge.
It's a Souls game. It's hard.
I liked Elden Ring. I didn't finish it, but I really liked it. And I don't know. I'm glad I played it. So I don't know what to tell you. So I'll be playing it. We'll see what happens. I've actually learned a lot from playing Elden Ring, being my first Souls game, about being patient for parries and dodges and all that stuff. And so this will be another opportunity for me to give it a good shot. But it looks fantastic. But it won Game of the Show for PlayStation. So why was the PlayStation making a showing here? They've been very quiet about their games lately, other than the occasional Last of Us remake, update.
I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe they feel they don't need to market God of War like God of War markets itself. I mean, the other game that we know that they have is Spider-Man and Wolverine's years away. So maybe we see Spider-Man gameplay next week because there is that Marvel showcase.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the way because I think that's all Sony has announced is God of War and then Spider-Man 2. So it's just a matter of whenever they want to start talking about all these future projects that they have. But yeah, like Xbox really wasn't at this Gamescom, the Jeff Keighley thing, nor Nintendo, nor Sony. So it kind of lacks some of the big hitters.
Xbox first party, wasn't really there other than Grounded and the third party deals that they work for Game Pass. There was a big PC Game Pass presentation or presence at Gamescom 2022. Right? Like they had a whole PC Game Pass sizzle reel thing.
Yeah.
And Zucker's like, yay!
PC. I'm PC. That's what I like. I'm not really Xbox. I'm PC.
Yep. I'm a tower with feet, wheeling, dealing. Yeah, he's pretty excited about that.
Yeah, remember when Zucker said, "Why would anybody play console? You got PC."
Ram waits till Zucker goes to sleep on his little Steam Deck pillow, his custom Steam Deck pillow, and starts just getting messy and making fun of him.
The Batman is pure cinema.
So,
because that would trigger him.
Batman is such a good movie, and we'll do that on another show. But let's talk about High on Life. The game looks really fun and cool, but that showing was not good at Gamescom.
That was not an interesting boss battle. But then they showed off a 25-minute demo of the game, which made it look a lot more interesting, a lot more engaging than that rote. Hopefully, that's just like the first boss battle, so it's like, okay, now I know why it's that easy.
But it just wasn't very lively. We know what a boss battle's like. You're in this small room, and that Mantis was just like not doing a whole lot. There wasn't. It didn't seem to be like any crazy, fun-looking movement. Yeah, that didn't help. But I didn't watch the 25-minute gameplay trailer. But did you sit and watch that?
I didn't watch all of it. I watched some of it.
I saw like a minute or two, and I'm like, okay, that's good enough. That looks cool, because you're in like this weird-looking little town, and you're coming around the corner and shooting enemies in groups and popping them in the air and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it's a little game. But I think people are going to cringe when they play it, right? But something that kind of stole the show. It's a multi-plat, but it's coming to Game Pass. Is Atomic Heart. I gotta hear your take on this. This is like, for me, like BioShock meets Dying Light.
Russian Shock,
bro.
Dude, I think that might have been like the trailer of the show for me. It wasn't even at Jeff Keighley's thing. It was like the next day, but they put out a combat gameplay trailer, and holy cow, did my anticipation go from like a 3 or 4 to like an 8 or a 9 now, based on all the cool, over-the-top, absurd images. Like that game, if it's real, but then it's like I sort of kind of caution myself, because Bright Memory Infinite, when they first showed it off, looked pretty cool too.
Right,
and we all know how that sort of played out. But
I played the whole game. It was like 4 or 5 hours. It was fun. It wasn't great though. Like, yeah, I'm seeing bigger things, like big moments. It's an open world game. It definitely looks way advanced. I don't know, Rand, did you peel your eyeballs into the OLED and just notice how advanced that game looks? Like, there's a lot going on with enemies, like tendrils moving and sparks and particles and water effects. You know what I'm talking about, for those of you who watched it.
Yes.
Rand, did you notice this?
Yes, I did.
I'm really mean. Like, did you see this and go, wow, this looks like a game that's coming out in 2022 or 2023. It doesn't look like, you could have played that on the Xbox One. Like, I don't want to say it. Next gen.
I think that people, I thought because they didn't say a date that it was becoming next year, but apparently developers said it's still on target for this fall. So maybe it's going to be a December game. Maybe a November game?
I think so, because originally we were to expect it very close to Stalker in early 2022, and those games got pushed because of what's going on their side of the planet. But yeah, it sounds like, I mean, it could get delayed, but sounds like they're ready for 2022. It's nuts. It looks great.
I'll be there day one because it looks super. Like I said, probably a trailer that immediately was like, okay, I was sort of interested in this game, and now I'm greatly anticipating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because we have to be honest, right? Because sometimes you're like, hey, this is come to Game Pass, and your thought is internally, man, I hope it's really good, because that'd be good for the service.
Wait,
aren't
your thoughts internally like, oh, is this going to be just Game Pass fodder?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that really is because for me, if a game comes out and it's crappy on Game Pass, it just gets this perception going, and you want games to just hit it out of the park, so it can get this perpetual thing going where they can add a little more money and get the bigger game and start pushing toward those day and date third party deals that are bigger than just, double A, because I think this is a double A team. It's making an outstanding looking title. So Liza P looking great, looking really good. Let's see. Biff Rinaldi, thank you for the super, says, I saw Phil was playing Peppa Pig. I think he actually was. Not even my kids played that yet, but they will. Kyler Rowe with a $5 says, why is Rand here? Are Gaz and Jez doing a podcast somewhere by themselves? By the way, love you, Rand. Good to see you on here on X&C 2 podcast, he called it. That's funny.
You imagine Gaz and Jez together on a podcast? How would that go?
Well, would they argue the whole time?
I don't know. Who would host, Jez or Gaz?
Well, Gaz would try to take over, and then Jez would just sit back and let.
Well, the thing is, Jez doesn't. Jez is all like when we do the show, he's playing video games the whole time.
I know. So I think he would just kick back.
So I think Gaz would be the host, and Jez would be the number 2.
If you ever get a really bad cold or something, you're gonna have to call in Gaz to run the show, and then watch your channel just go into just get taken completely down and thrown in the garbage. But I don't know. Maybe we'll have to make that team up sometime. Hargeet Johnny says, so is the Steam Deck a PC or a console?
It's a handheld, isn't it?
Don't you divert yourself from this question, Rand. You answer one or the other. Is it a PC or a console?
I would say PC.
I would say console. I would do, if anybody really cared, I would do a poll, but
it's a handheld PC. It's a handheld PC
because it has Windows on it. Like can you look at Excel spreadsheets on it?
I think you can.
Okay,
I think you can do anything on it.
Can you do your TurboTax on the Steam Deck?
I don't know. I think you can probably even watch your porn on there, Colteastwood.
Rand! I don't know what that is. Hey, I got 2 more games to talk about, and one of them I think is going to be funny, but let me ask you real quick. Gotham Knights, yes or no?
I mean, yes, as in I'm going to play it. I'm a little bit cautious about whether or not it's going to be good.
Yes, as in you're going to play it, and what's the no part, Rand? We got to inquiring minds want to know.
Because some of it doesn't look good. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know. Like, the trailer they showed was probably the best trailer they've put out. Like, I think Mr. Freeze looks really cool and Clayface looks great.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn this time, not really a fan of, but when I watch like gameplay of someone actually playing the game and fighting, it just is missing something. I don't know. And I think I've explained this to you before.
Uh-huh.
With the Batman games, it's like, all right, I'm effing Batman, right?
Yeah.
That's all there is. Like, I'm the Dark Knight. And everything goes through him. The story's centered on him. It's one character and his journey on one night as he, is taking out the criminals of Gotham.
Oh,
this game, though, is you have 4 people, right? And we've talked about before how we had such a great time playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey because we chose Cassandra. And she was such an amazing character, and especially when you compare her to Alexios, who was horrible.
Alexios is lame. Yeah, you and I were in party chats. Alexios is lame because Zocker and Dealer chose him. 2 of our good friends, and we're like, Alexios is lame because Cassandra was like charismatic. She was cool. She was tough, and she had the best takedowns. And Alexios would just go, "I bid you depart." No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So. Me and you have always talked about how I think we enjoyed that game more because of who we picked to play as. Because when you pick the characters, okay, you hear them. So some of my concern with Gotham Knights is, what if I pick the wrong character, right? Because you got 4. You got Red Hood, you got Batgirl, you got Robin, and you got Nightwing.
And Dick
And it's like, okay, if I pick one of these characters, am I locked into that character for the whole game? Like, what if I don't like Batgirl's moveset? And then what if I don't like her voice actress or anything like that? So the story being told to me isn't as, like, I'm just saying, like, there's a part of me that's like, well, what if I choose wrong? Whereas before the
Yeah,
Batman
yeah.
games, like, you didn't have to choose. It was just Batman.
Let me
But
ask
now
the-
it's like,
Let me ask the
You know what I
audience real
mean?
quick before you say this next part, because we had a really good discussion. I remember word for word while I was playing Saints Row. Let me ask audience, are you interested, or are you thinking you're going to play Gotham Knights? And are you thinking about who am I going to choose? Because Rand has a really good theory that I'm going to ask him to tell you about how he thinks the game will run or how it will start out that might alleviate this, I don't know who I'm going to choose. So, Rand, how do you think this game might kick off when you first play it? Do you remember this?
I think they will give you. You'll go through like a tutorial stuff where they let you play as like all 4 characters, so you can get a sense of like the moves and how they play, and then I think you'll have to choose one of the
Like the
characters
first
to
4
play as the
missions-
rest of the game.
The first 4 like 10-minute missions will be you playing as Red Hood, and then the next mission is you playing as Batgirl. Yeah, so you go through.
Yeah,
and
so
you,
they'll give you a
maybe
taste
hear the
of-
first part of the story as
Yeah,
them.
so they'll give you a taste of each character, and then like you have to make the choice of, unless they've talked about this in interviews, and I haven't really been paying attention to it, unless they allow you to like, I'm gonna play this mission as Batgirl, and then this next mission I'll play as Robin, and the next mission I'll play as, unless they actually allow you to just use whoever. I was always thought that like, at some point you're going to have to lock in your choice, and you're going to have to pick
Yeah.
one of the 4 characters. And I just don't know like which one I want to play as, because it's like, okay, Nightwing is like, the original Robin. He actually might have a more emotional response to Bruce being dead. So it's like, maybe I want to go with that through line. But then like watching Nightwing's combat, it's like, that's not really.
Yeah,
that
it's
doesn't
weird.
really look good. And it's like, oh, Red Hood, he's a badass. But it's like,
He's got Nerf
those guns
guns.
look like peach shooters, and his voice actor doesn't sound good. So it's like, well, Batgirl looks most like Batman with the physical combat, but it's like, but it's Batgirl. Like,
Why-
do I want to play as Batgirl?
I think you can get different
You know?
outfits because like the bright, happy purple is kind of lame, but I think you can upgrade to like a more, maybe a darker or cooler preferred outfit. I got to give a shout out to Gaz, who is, I don't know, it's like 3 a.m. and he's in the chat. Bro, Gaz, I miss you so much, man. While you're out of the country, we usually talk every day, and I've been going through withdrawals from the Gazness. So, but shout out to him for being here, and I bet he wishes he was you, Rand. Everyone wishes they were you.
No,
So-
nobody does.
I like your theory that they will have you do a story mission for each character, and then you get to a screen. It's like, who are you going to play as? But I also have this theory that maybe you'll switch characters at different points of the game, but it's all kind of a question mark. The other game I got to ask you about, and I'm wondering if people give a flying crap, but I think that Dead Island 2 had a great showing last week. And last week on my podcast with Gaz, I showed gameplay of the leaked 1 or 2 year old beta testing that looked like diarrhea gone wild. And I think this one looks really good, but you have more fine taste, Rand. Tell people what you think of Dead Island. Yeah, you're very, very snotty and snooty.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, Rand.
No,
You're
I'm
like,
not. Why?
"Oh,
Because
the mountains
because
in
I'm not
Saints Row
enjoying
don't look
Saints
next
Row
gen."
as much as you. Yeah, okay.
No,
Colt
Well, I was
was
talk-
literally we were playing Saints Row last night. And Colt's literally, Rand, look at this sunset, and isn't this game just such an amazing looking game? And I'm like,
I
no,
didn't say
it kind
amazing.
of I'm like, this.
You know
kinda
what?
Looks like,
You know what,
looks
jerk?
like-
I'm the kind
What?
of guy who'll go out on the back deck, like, and when the sun's setting, and I think this is partially because of video games, as lame as that sounds, but I take a moment and I'm like, oh man, this sky looks so nice right now. It's totally in 4K. No, but I can appreciate when lighting looks nice. The game looks very simple. Saints
Brown?
Row, but I can appreciate when things look nice. This so much, right? This color, this is too much orange. But what do you think of Dead Island 2? Like, what was your take? Because I thought it. Well, you know what I think.
I mean, I thought it looked for a comeback after being gone for so long. I thought it looked cool. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. We don't gotta wait that much longer because it's coming out in 6 months or so. So we'll be able to. You can finally make that video. Dead Island coming in 2023, right?
Yeah, 6 months. I have to count my fingers. Yeah, I've made that video like 4 times. Dead Island's coming. When? Never. Dam Busters is making it. I said this last week. Dambusters is the team that made the game you completely forgot about because you didn't like it. Homefront the Revolution. So that's my reservation. I'm like, I really like Dead Island. The last one was campy, but Techland is pretty talented, and this is not made by Techland. So I'm hoping that it's still fun, but they seem to improve
hilarious. It's hilarious that Techland was able to do 2 Dying Light games before Dead Island 2 came out, essentially. Like the ones who made the franchise made their own franchise and put out 2 games. And I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how California is an island though.
There's a big meteor crater in one part of the world, so I thought maybe they're going to say or allude to in the game that California is in the midst of breaking off the continent, and so or someone said that the government has walled off with concrete walls those 3 cities together and treated it as in a dead island where you have to survive in there and no one's coming to help you. So, come on, that sounds fun. Hargeet Johnny, thank you so much for the super. He says, 4 games coming tomorrow. Now, Hargeet keeps me abreast, if you'll pardon the term, with what games are coming. He says 4 games coming tomorrow. Destroy All Humans 2, which is getting some middling reviews. Immortality, a small game. I'm excited about the next one, TMNT Cowabunga Collection. Rand, are we gonna play some co-op? Yeah, I mean, and then Tinykin, which is like a 2D/3D world. The character's 2D in a 3D world. It's an interesting game. And he said 2 of those are day and date in Game Pass. I think that's Tinykin and Immortality.
Immortality.
What is that, Rand?
That is an FMV game. It's
that's right.
It's from the maker of Her Story and Telling Lies.
Is this like a good prospect? Full motion video sounds weird. Like, I
mean, it got a 10 from Edge, which is where a lot of people are saying, "Oh my god!" So I think reviews come out tomorrow morning.
It's better than Elden Ring.
Yeah, well, so reviews come out tomorrow morning, and I know people loved Her Story, and so it could be a scenario where maybe like this game is just really that good. And the question is, like, do you want to play a game like that? Like, because I think you have to like solve like someone's gone missing or something, and you gotta like you'd have to watch like the trailer. It's like you click on certain things within the videos, and then it opens up other videos. And there's a story that's going on, but tomorrow morning, maybe we wake up and we see a 90+ Metacritic game, and people are talking about how it's like incredible, or we'll find out tomorrow.
I always wonder if that. We'll find out tomorrow. I think that's like that could be like the wild card for Pentiment. Like, I know a lot of people are like make a face when you talk about Pentiment. I'm like, I have always said in our talks with our friends, like, what if Pentiment's like this 9 out of 10? It's like a must play, narrative experience. But I mean, maybe it's not for me. But let's see, what's the other one here? We got Gaz, who sent a message. He goes, "I'm naked again," which is something he says when we close the show out. He's the best. Red Wolf puts in a code for Batman Return to Arkham City, which is the 2-game pack, which comes to Arkham Knight, or Arkham City and Arkham Asylum. So, yeah, Batman Return to Arkham was what it's called, but they had it abbreviated there. Yodani has a super here. Let me see, where is this at? Did I miss it? I'm just doing a little production stuff behind the scenes. Where is it? He wants me to read. Oh, the code. Oh, here it is. No, I'm sorry. How did I miss this? Yodani Kazada, thank you, buddy. Thank you for reminding me. It says, Forspoken, High on Life, and Saints Row all sitting down, drinking soy lattes and having brunch, discussing Euphoria. Who dies of cringe first, Rand? High on Life, Forspoken, or Saints Row characters?
Saints Row characters.
Yeah, Saints Row. I think it is. I'll just keep saying I am having fun with the game, but I'm pretty much almost done. But yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the people have been upset. One more thing I got to say, Rand, is I get in a lot of trouble when I tweet stuff, right? You always smack me on the back of the hand and say, "Stop it."
Yeah.
But I use this word because this is my personality. I'll use certain words and I know what they mean and I know what I'm talking about. And like Gaz, you always say, look, you just make sure you bulletproof your statement before you make it. I've said many times that Xbox is leading the industry. Well, most people's definition of leading is in the lead, up ahead, sold the most, the best, the most popular. I think that all the stuff we've talked about today in the show, Rand, is about Xbox has been guiding, leading the industry along where it should be going, making major changes with crossplay, play in multiple devices. If you buy a game, like Phil says, you should be able to play it wherever you want. You bought the game. And he's kind of made headway with that and has changed the industry and led other developers to... We've seen some Ubisoft games, you buy it on console, you can turn around and pick up your save on the console. So you're probably going to disagree with me, but I think that Xbox has been leading the industry in a lot of ways of how the industry has been changing lately to just one plastic box. Rand, where do you sit on that? A lot of people don't like this discussion.
Are we actually having a topic about your tweet?
Nope. I mean, I could make it all about my tweet and put it up on the screen, but this is something that people are having a hard time coming to an agreement or coming to an understanding because they think that PlayStation does something a certain way and that's the way it should be. And we've talked about all these changes that Jim Ryan's made that have kind of painted that they're doing things the way the Xbox has been doing for a few years.
So in what areas do you think Xbox is leading the way in?
Well, like I talked about with crossplay and bringing your games to more devices than just one piece of plastic. If you pay $60 for a game, you can play it in more places than just that one console. You know, you can
play anywhere. Yeah,
the play
streaming.
Yeah, the xCloud thing. But
Yeah.
PlayStation was doing they're streaming PS3 games, but I mostly think that PSNow was their solution for no back compat than it was cloud gaming.
Yeah, but nobody used PlayStation now. It's the reason why they got rid of it. So
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of areas Xbox does extremely well in. So
Yeah.
I mean, they play as you made a tweet recently before you got a lot of grief for. It was like PlayStation is copying a lot of the things Xbox has been doing. So
yeah. Other people don't like that stuff, but I don't know. A lot of people are thinking that PlayStation is going to nosedive this generation, but I think we're in a situation where Xbox is going to be doing really well, and PlayStation will be making adjustments and kind of modernizing their business model, and we're all going to benefit from that.
What if, since it's a necessity and you got all this inflation and economic hardships, what if Sony's like $70 for games? This ain't enough. Now it's $75 or $80.
But they're not losing money like that, are they?
I'm just saying, why not raise the price of games as well?
Yeah. I mean, so far on the screen, there's that glitch again. So far, Xbox hasn't had to raise their prices of their games. And I know I could sit here and go, if they decide to move to $70, they're like, well, at least they still offer you an option to play it cheaper on Game Pass. But it's still bad news either way, I think.
I think they will probably. I think the political pressure will get them to raise the price to 70 at some point. Because I feel like you have all the big publishers like EA out there, 2K. They're already putting all their games at 70. PlayStation. They're gonna want like the rest of the industry to follow.
Ubisoft is one as well, right?
Well, I don't think Ubisoft is still putting out 60, but then again, I don't think anybody's fully transitioned to current gen only. A lot of people still do cross gen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at some point when they make that transition to like next gen only, or no, is Skull and Bones actually $70?
I think
Skull
it
and
is.
Bones.
Yeah,
so maybe now they're actually
I have this
making
memory that Ubisoft has transitioned into the
so maybe now
games.
Ubisoft is transitioning. So I think it's only a matter of time before they all do, and I think the publishers will just put political pressure on Xbox to put it up to 70, which you can make an argument that makes Game
political
Pass
pressure as far as if you don't do it, it makes it harder for the rest of us to do what we want to do.
Just like EA and them putting pressure on Xbox to match and make the $70 standard across the industry, which you can make the argument that only makes Game Pass look better because now games are more expensive, and that increases the value of Game Pass now because the games are, they're more. So I mean, I think Aaron Greenberg had talked a little bit about that on RDX a couple years ago when you guys interviewed him, right?
Yeah, and
So
was it? I think it was Fonz that just straight up asked him, "Are you guys doing $70 games this gen?" Oh man, that was I was biting my nails. Like you weren't supposed to ask that, but Aaron answered it, and I don't know. I've paid for many $70 games. I'm sure you have as well, Rand. I can have an opinion because I've paid the price. So this whole thing about if you don't like it, don't buy it, doesn't really fly because Sony and EA, Take-Two, Activision, Ubisoft have all raised the prices because they know people will still buy the games. So you automatically get a raise, and I think that's where we're sitting. Hardy Johnny, thank you for the $5. He says, Xbox has already released 3 next-gen only games at 60. Nintendo and Xbox have not increased and shouldn't. I don't... Rand, do you think they're going to?
Do I think they're
going to
what's
your prediction? Do you think they're going to raise to 70 in the next year or in 1 year?
I don't know when they'll do it, but I do think they will do it at some point.
I think so too. And then I'll have to delete 7,000 tweets. No, I've been pretty straight up across the board. I've paid for plenty of $70 games, and I still don't think it's great. It's like, why would anybody celebrate paying for more? The whole thing of paying a premium or paying more to get better in the future is ridiculous. It's not where the money goes. Rand, what do you have planned for this week? You've been back to making more videos. Tell people what your plans are for the Rand Thor 19 channel.
I mean, we got a podcast this week with Jez Corden. Hopefully more interesting things drop. You never know. I mean, I would love to make more videos, with more stuff. I'm at least trying to get back into the swing of things. It's fun. The last few videos have been fun to make.
Yeah, you had a lot of fun with your Phil Spencer video, and you could kind of put more opinion in because there's...
I threw a Chappelle show little clip in the Jim Ryan one because it was basically like, people ask why I treat customers this way. Why? I don't finish that off because demonetized. But yeah, I mean, hopefully Xbox comes out, announces some things, or talks about some stuff. There was that leaked image of Xbox Friends and Family, Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they're getting ready to announce that. I mean, people have found the Ubisoft Plus stuff. Maybe Ubisoft Plus gets announced somewhat soon for Xbox.
Yeah, people are wondering how much that PSVR 2 is going to be with the price increase. So everyone's kind of takes. Yeah, they're going to take their. Have they announced the price yet? Or
no, they haven't.
So people are already saying it's going to be $550 in the UK, £550 instead of 500. They're already kind of. Obviously, they're predicting that, which is probably pretty close. But
are we going to be getting an announcement of XO this year? If so, maybe you would have to announce that soon, right?
I think they're going to do it. I think they'll do XO.
Well, if they're doing an XO, you got to announce that soon.
Yeah, well, you and I later on, or tomorrow or whatever, we'll dig into when they announced the last one, and we'll get the predictions ready to go because I think that we are going to have another big event for Xbox, and then there'll be a big presence at the Game Awards, which has been announced. So
let's find out right now live on your show when they announced XO 2019.
You're good at this stuff, Rand. Tell the people you get your info and find out when XO 19 was announced. It was in London.
Yeah, I'm trying to find
and it would have
when
been November. I'm trying to remember if it was November or September.
November 14th.
Okay.
November 14th.
That's when it was announced. Oh, okay. What was the event? When was the event?
The event was November 14th. I'm trying to find out when they announced it.
I'm sorry.
Which
hit that like button. Let's get us up to 500 before we leave the show. If you're here, there's 700 people, and somebody had fun, I think, watching this terrible Saints Row combat.
Listening to this PlayStation newscast.
Yeah. I knew this coming in, and what we try to do on these shows is bounce this PlayStation information off of how it affects us as Xbox fans, or how it will change the way that we play our games, or what's coming up for us. So I don't know. I always look at things that way. A lot of stuff PlayStation do doesn't affect me that much. You can't find out when they announced it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm scrolling through it. I'm scrolling Colteastwood, but
I'm sure you made a video, didn't you, saying
Yeah, but I don't want to. I'm not looking through my videos to find out when they. That's when Everwild was announced, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh wait,
that
here we
was
go. I
also
think
when
I found it.
all the
I think I
Final
found it,
Fantasy games
Colteastwood.
and Kingdom Hearts games came to Game Pass, or were going to come.
Xbox announced XO 2019 June 10th.
Oh, wow,
2019.
we're long gone from that.
Yeah.
But they also, I don't
They
know.
announced it during today's Inside Xbox Live from E3 2019. Xbox head Phil Spencer announced that XO 2019 will be held in London in November, but the exact date for the event is still unknown. So they announced that there would be XO in London during E3.
Brad Ward Fight in the chat said August 19th, 2019. I don't know if he means that's when they announced when XO is happening.
So there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, but if it's August 19th, that could be any day now, but we don't know. Let me look real quick. So, Rand, that's what you're doing. You've got the podcast on Friday, probably, because Jez is back home from his trip.
We'll see what news stories or any sort of thing maybe I want to make a video about. It's been a very interesting August, so.
Yeah, I'll be working on a really big video about Starfield. There's a bunch of stuff that not a lot of people are talking about that is going to take a lot of deep dive and a lot of research to find some visuals for that. But I'll be working on that here when I get some downtime. It's been crazy. But this is the XNC Podcast. We're live on the Colteastwood channel. And this show is also on demand. If you're listening there, thanks to Anchor on Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Podcasts, a couple other platforms that you can check this out at your leisure. But Randolph Thor, we're going to get out of here and tell everybody have a good night. Hit the like button and all that. I don't know.
Have a good night. Stuff. I'm not Gaz.
And then I'm on a new format here, so you'll have to deal with some of the... I'll get it all ironed out as I figured it out. But today the show was actually posted, and I had to move it to a different... I don't know. This is all stuff that I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to get out of here. Oh, I got one more super before we go. Risk It for the Biscuit, thank you so much. He said, do you think PlayStation 5 will charge $80 for games that use the Edge controller, their new Elite? Or do you think they'll back charge PS5 owners the $50? I don't know. I don't know if he means like they have a premium Elite controller set up in the game. No, I don't think they'll do that. But how much is that Elite controller going to be before we get out of here? It's going to be an extra $50.
150 or 200, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 200. All right. Well, thanks everybody for checking out the show. We'll see you next week. We'll be back here with Gaz. Have a good night, and console war. Be nice. We'll see you later.